Hey mama, are you ready to transform every aspect of your life as a married mom? Together we're going to discover how to take control, set the tone, and create lasting change in your marriage and your family. Welcome to Married Moms Take Control, and today we're going to dive into the profound transformation journey available to every married mom. I'm Nevart Willborn, and I'm here to guide you through a framework that can really help you meet your potential and your roles as a wife, a mother, and as an individual. So by the end of this episode, you'll understand my 6-step framework that will really help you start your journey towards self-empowerment, leading to feeling more balanced, feeling more fulfilled, and just having stronger relationships. So in our last episode, I talked to you about why I rebranded the podcast, why I decided to change the audience of this podcast, and why I'm passionate about working with married moms. And today I'm going to walk you through how to actually transform the different aspects of your life as a married mom. I talked to you about the kinds of things that can come from being more in control of yourself. And today we're going to talk about how that actually works and what that looks like. So let's go through these stages. I'm going to give you a lot to think about. And then I'll be referencing different aspects of these steps over the next few episodes. I'm going to break everything down very simply and specifically so that you know exactly how to go from where you are now to where you want to be. Okay, so before I tell you the 6 steps, I want you to think of who you are, right? You are one person with 3 parts, okay? You are a woman, you are a wife, you are a mom. These are all parts of who you are. Together, they make up your identity, but within each of these parts, you play different roles. You are doing certain things as a woman. You're doing certain things as a wife, you're doing certain things as a mom. Some of them cross over and some of them are, maybe common themes among the different parts of you, but there are also parts of you that are very different. The way that you take care of yourself when you're just by yourself in mom mode, there's no children around, might look different than what you do when your kids are around or when your husband's around. But what I am doing, and you will hear me talk about this throughout every episode and everything we do, is that we are nurturing all 3 parts of this person, because often we don't take care of all our parts equally. And honestly, we typically can't. You can't take care of the woman part of you as much as you take care of your kids. It's just not possible. And we're just not wired that way. But that doesn't mean we need to completely neglect that, right? And I'm not talking about go get your nails done. I'm talking about how do you legitimately nurture yourself, your identity. So think of these 3 parts as we're talking about this: woman, wife, mom. So step 1 of this framework that I'm teaching you is identify and acknowledge. There are 2 parts to identify and acknowledge. There's self-assessment and vision of ideal self. Self-assessment is basically a look at yourself where you ask yourself, how am I feeling about myself? As a wife, as a woman, as a mom, what am I happy with? What am I not loving? How am I fulfilled? How am I not fulfilled? What are the things that I wish would change? How would those change? If I could change something in myself right now or in the relationships that I have, what would that be? And then vision of ideal self, what would that really look like? If I could change it and it looked exactly the way I wanted it to look, where I felt fulfilled, I felt happy, I felt strong, I felt in control, what would that look like? So really picturing what an empowered version of yourself would look like, where you focus on the qualities and the behaviors, how you behave. And again, it's not, well, I wish I had $1 million. I mean, that would be great. But we're talking about, how do you wish you acted? How do you wish you spoke? How do you wish you reacted? These are all things about what we control in ourselves. Not, I wish my husband spent more time with me, but what do I do to communicate to my husband that I want him to spend more time with me? How do I advocate for myself at my children's school, right? So what is it that you would want to do differently to be that ideal self? Step number 2 is pinpoint challenges. So there are 2 parts to this. There's barrier identification and root cause analysis. So barrier identification, what gets in the way of me being able to be my ideal self? What are the obstacles? Is it that maybe I have some personal habits that are hard to break? Maybe I do things a certain way and I just have gotten used to talking like this or raising my voice or yelling. Or maybe I'm just really sensitive and I'm not very good at managing my reactions emotionally to things. Maybe I just am very closed off and I don't know how to open up to people that I have relationships with, my husband, my children, whatever. So that would be identifying the barriers. And then root cause analysis is really thinking about, where do these come from? Is this something that I've struggled with for years? Have I always been closed off? Have I always been a yeller? Is this something that maybe comes from my childhood or my earlier years? Or are these things that have developed more recently? Are they habits that developed maybe more after a certain experience or situation that I had? And that's why I do these things. So understanding the challenges, why can't I do the things that make me happy or that would help me be more fulfilled? And where does it come from? So step 3 is discover your superpower. Yes, it sounds cheesy. Yes, we are going with it. So this has 2 parts too: understanding your role and pattern recognition. So understanding your role really just means recognizing what you are naturally good at, right? How do you influence your family in a positive way? We really want to highlight your potential to set the emotional and behavioral tone. And what I mean by that is, if you stay calm when your kid is melting down, does that help or hurt? If you raise your voice when your kid is melting down, does that help or hurt, right? How does your behavior, if you go to your husband to communicate something, like if he didn't do something he was supposed to do, how do you approach him? Do you go in with a calm, controlled tone, or do you go in very accusatory, very shrill, and like, you didn't do this and now da 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 da? You have the ability to set the tone in your home, but first we have to figure out what you're good at doing. Are you good at staying calm? Are you good at really wording things in a way that comes across the way you mean them, for them to come across? Are you good at walking away? Are you good at separating your children and giving each of them time to calm down? Like, we are going to have to dive in, and I'm really excited to do this because this is in large part how I learned to control myself, is recognizing what I was good at. And we are going to have so many conversations about how I use my quote superpower to set the tone in my home, but also manage my own frustrations and manage the expectations that I have of the people in my life. And this has helped me tremendously. So we will talk about that more in another episode. But understanding your role, and then pattern recognition is really observing and understanding how your interactions with other people do create positive change, right? So if I know I'm good at staying calm, okay, that's a superpower. Now let me try to observe how that influences those around me. How does my behavior and the interactions that I have with other people really depend on the decision that I make to stay calm and to have a different interaction with the family, with the people around me, right? So noticing, are you using your superpower, or are you can stay calm, you just choose not to because there's so much history or there's so much frustration that now you really don't try to manage that. You don't try to stay calm. Okay. Step 4 is master the art of tone setting. I love this one. And there are 2 parts of this. There's emotional regulation and communication techniques. Also personal favorites because I use these a lot and have grown a lot because of these. But emotional regulation is really all about techniques for managing your emotions to create a positive home environment, to affect your behavior, your mood, the mood around you, the mood of your husband, the mood of your children. And again, it's not controlling other people, it's controlling yourself. And by controlling yourself, you set the tone. If you are not freaking out, then most likely others will match your energy. It's not perfect, but it might take a while. But if you try to stay calm, you're calm, and then you lose your crap and you yell, well, now we've reset the whole thing. If I stay calm, I walk away from certain things. I know when to walk away. I know how to talk when I can't walk away. I don't resort to yelling because I've been pushed. I always have control of myself. And that is such a powerful thing. It gives you so much power and control of yourself. And that's something that no one can take away from you. Honestly, it doesn't matter how much someone else is yelling at you, whether it's your children or whatever. You don't have to be affected by that if you don't want to. That's where the control and the power comes in, which I love. So that was emotional regulation. Then there's communication techniques. Also, dang, the power you can have if you learn how to be clear. And I will teach you all these things: how to be clear, how to be compassionate, how to be very controlled in the words, like intentional with the words you say and how you say them. And it sounds like so much work, but now I'm to the point where I have this like immediate filter going through my mind. As I think of what I want to say, I can hear it in my head and it comes out the way I want to because I've trained myself. This did not come naturally to me. And one of the things I get probably most positive feedback from, like kind of like this, like, oh my gosh, reaction from my clients is, oh, okay, can you say that again? I want to write it down. Like if they ask me, if we're talking about a conversation they have to have someone or with someone or a confrontation, I just have the trained ability now to say things in a way that sounds very controlled, very direct, very strong, but very kind, very compassionate, very understanding. And I can handle the most uncomfortable confrontations, even though I hate confrontation, but I am good at it because I've taught myself. I refused to stay in the headspace I used to have where I was very scared of confrontation and negative interactions. And I was like, that's it. I'm done. I'm done crying every time someone says something to me that hurts my feelings. I'm ready to handle confrontation. And so when I am with clients and we're doing those things, I'm usually asked to pause, go back and say it again so they can either record it or write it down. And that's what I'm going to teach you: how to have, it's called, and pardon my language, it's the art of bullshit in a lot of ways. It's how do I say what I want to say in a way that is received the way I want it to be received. And I can't control other people, but I definitely can control how I say it. And so it comes out strong, confident, but positive, right? So that was master the art of tone setting. Step 5 is implement harmony in motherhood and marriage. 2 parts to this too. There's teamwork in parenting, and then there's parenting with purpose. I love the word purpose. I love the word intention. Those are very, very powerful for me. So teamwork in marriage is really about learning by example in leading by example in partnership, how to be the person in your marriage that you kind of hope your husband also is, right? So again, you're 2 different people and you won't be exactly the same no matter what you lead. But if I am kind to my husband, then that teaches him how to treat me, because I will give kindness and I will receive kindness. And you might have to do some training here. But if I am encouraging and I'm supportive and I'm kind and I'm calm, then I set the tone for those kinds of behaviors. If I am giving a lot of encouragement and support, then naturally, by doing that, my husband will enjoy that feeling of my encouragement and my support, my praise, my validation, whatever you want to call it. And then he will start slowly doing that back. And this is one that I have actually done in my marriage. It was at the very early stages of our marriage when we had just gotten married and I was starting grad school and I was going through couples counseling classes. And I learned this strategy about if you want your husband or your wife to do something, then you start doing it no matter what they're doing. Even if they're irritating you, pissing you off, being really obnoxious, being really rude, you behave the way that you want to be treated. And without a doubt, I mean, for me, it was kind of magic. And I joke around with my husband about it because I was just like, I want a lot of praise and validation. So all I did was start giving it to you. And then you started doing it back. And he is awesome at it. It's not something he needs as much. Like he needs it just like any person does. But I have a much higher need for validation and praise than he does. But because I need it, I give a lot of it. And so he just like soaks it up and it's become a habit for him to give it back. And if there are times where I'm like, hey, I'm needing a little extra today, like I feel like I'm doing more around here than anyone else is, and I don't have the bandwidth to give as much as I normally do. So I need you to fill my cup by like telling me thank you a whole hell of a lot more than usual. And he's like, okay, because he knows that that's important to me. But he only knows that because I modeled it, I taught it. And after I modeled it enough, I had a conversation about it where it was like, hey, thank you for doing that. I really appreciate when you are validating or you're kind to me or you say thank you. It makes me feel really good. And then that's how we communicated that that's something I needed. And I will teach you how to do it. Parenting with purpose is about really being the kind of mom you want to be, really, is as simple as it is. If you don't want to be a yelling mom, then work on not yelling. If you don't want to be a helicopter mom, then work on not doing that. If you are an anxious parent and it comes out in the way that you parent your children, the way you interact with them, then we want to focus on helping you manage your anxiety, right? I may not be able to help you not be anxious. Most likely I can't because I'm not your therapist. But I can absolutely teach you how to manage it in a way with your children so that you are not parenting through the lens of anxiety or through the lens of impatience or the lens of frustration, right? I am an anxious person. I have to manage my anxiety on a regular basis. And so it is definitely about being the kind of mom you want to be and making a point. That's why I use the word purpose. When you have if you make a decision about the kind of person you want to be, then it's just about identifying what the steps are to be that person and then very intentionally implementing them. I will teach you how to do all of that. And it's so empowering when you learn how to do that. So step 6, our final step, is cultivate continuous growth. 2 steps to this: intentional practices is step number 1. Step number 2 is accountability and support. So intentional practices, really just, again, kind of like we're talking about parenting with purpose, is what do you want to do that will nurture your marriage or your parenting? So maybe making a decision to have certain habits or routines or rituals or whatever you want to call them, whether it's weekly, monthly, biweekly, daily, whatever, that really helps you nurture your marriage, nurture your relationship with your kids, and take care of yourself. If you know that you want more one-on-one time with your children, then it's about looking at your week, figuring out what your schedule is, and then making a decision to plug in 5 minutes playing with this kid, 5 minutes playing with that kid, taking this kid for a walk, going out to coffee with this other kid, whatever, but making some really intentional decisions about how you want to carve your time out so that you can always be growing. Because I think we get into these habits where we're really good at something and like, man, we're in this stage where we're spending a lot of time together and life is maybe naturally creating that schedule and availability, but then we get busy and we lose track of that. And now we don't have as much natural time. So now we have to be intentional. We have to carve it out and we have to make sure we are continuously growing in our relationships with our husband, child, self. And that last piece is accountability and support, right? So important to have accountability. Again, putting it in your calendar and having a repeat alarm or reminder it's a form of accountability. Having a friend or family member that you've shared this with and you say, hey, hold me to this. Every week, ask me how my one-on-one time with my husband went, or my, time with my kid, or how much time I spent working with my kid on this, toy game thing they like to do. Or, this can be your spouse that you ask to hold you accountable. It could be a family member. It could be a therapist. It could be a coach, right? Someone or some system that you have where you check in with yourself and you say, am I doing the things that I set out to do that I decided were important to me? So let's go back. Let's recap real quick our 6-step framework to really transforming every aspect of yourself as a woman, a wife, and a mom. And like I said, we are going to be diving into these so tremendously in so many different ways. Step 1, identify and acknowledge where we identify what the things that aren't going super well in your life, and kind of figuring out what you would like that to look like differently. Step 2 is pinpoint challenges. What are the barriers to being the kind of person that you want to be? And where does this come from? Root cause analysis. Are these from childhood? Are these more recent? Are these from a certain event? Step 3, discover your superpower. So understanding your role, what you're good at, how you can influence your home and the tone. And then pattern recognition, realizing how it does, for better or for worse, really influence the people in your life. Step 4 is master the art of tone setting. So there's emotional regulation, really learning how to manage your reactions and your mood and your behavior, and communication techniques. how to speak and communicate in a way that is very intentional and very controlled and very clear. Step 5 is implement harmony in marriage and motherhood. So working as a team in your marriage, and then parenting with purpose, being intentional in what we're doing. And then final step is cultivate continuous growth. And that is being intentional in the things that we do and having accountability and finding support to maintain these things and help us stay strong. So I hope that this was helpful to you, just kind of seeing the big picture of if you really work on all these 6 categories, this is what it looks like to take control, have more power in your life, be more aligned with who you want to be, and work towards being that person. And like I said, we will be going into these in so much more detail. But I want you to really start thinking about what are those things in your life that you feel like are not really where you want them to be. What are the things that you do, the relationships that you have that you wish you could change? And then we'll start thinking about what that change could really look like. So I hope this was helpful. I appreciate you being on this journey with me. And I hope to see you in the next episode. All right, take care. Bye.